So I'm like, oh, you're going to die.
This is Kenton Claremont from Train to Hunt, and you're watching the Gritty Bowmen.
Is the only thing that's got me anywhere is hard work. That's all I got. I'm not the best shot. I'm not anything. So all I know is to work hard. So I can't really back off of it because that got me to the dance.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep riding it. I'll just keep, all I can do is give all I got.
Yeah. Calling you fat and the macronutrient fat.
That's
we
right.
should have called it like oil. Or
We should have called it awesome.
Yeah. When did you know you really liked Cameron?
We became buddies like immediately.
Like
Once
right
we
off the
became
bat?
Friends. Yeah. Well, I had him on my podcast. It's the first time I met him, and he brought me a Hoyt bow. So how could I not love him?
I did.
What did you think when that happened?
I thought I made it.
I love it.
I thought I finally made it.
It's not, I am not joking.
I do not talk with my hands. I don't know what you're talking about.
I do not.
With my hands? My hands?
What?
I just Randy Black Eagle.
Randy
That's it. Boom.
That's my.
That's how we roll. Just drop the mic and walk away.
On this episode of Gritty Bowmen, I get to hang out with my friend Ryan Lampers, although I call him Donnie Vincent Lampers. Ryan has a very Donnie Vincent-esque look that makes me think of films like Rivers Divide and Terra. And when I look at Ryan, I find myself reciting Donnie lines in my head like, sometimes hunts go quick, sometimes they take years. But one thing's for sure, there's always a story, and one that's usually worth telling. Or this line, don't confuse me with being anything else other than proud. Proud to be a hunter. It's time we stop apologizing for how we get our protein. This is who we are. But Ryan is not Donnie, although I would argue that he gives Donnie a run for his money. In the cool hair department, Ryan is Ryan, a tough dude who consistently kills old and mature big game animals on public land on over-the-counter hunts year after year. And his success doesn't surprise me after watching him compete at my first Train to Hunt course in Enumclaw, Washington earlier this year. Ryan can shoot. Most importantly, he can shoot under extreme pressure. I watched him do this at 2 Train to Hunt events, and I tried mightily to throw him off his game, heckling and taunting him all along the way, sticking a camera in his face and threatening to show the world his failures. All in good fun, of course. I was impressed, and not only can he shoot, he can grind physically, winning a podium spot at 3 separate Train to Hunt challenge events, and he's a cool dad to boot. On this podcast, we talk about what it takes to be a good hunter. I ask Ryan how he succeeds on public land, over-the-counter hunts on big game animals every year. It's good stuff. I really like Ryan Lampers. You will too. You just came on the scene, boom, flash, out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, you kind of threw me into the scene.
I see so many women involved in it.
And my wife, she's not a hunter.
Yeah.
But this excites her.
Right.
She's got that kind of like
Same
Amanda.
with my wife, too.
Actually, I won a free entry. Had a week to get ready for it. Drove down to Nevada and gave it my best. I'm so glad I did.
All right, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. We are, where is this place?
Cascadian Bowmen.
Cascadian Bowmen in Oregon. That's as
Eugene,
precise as
sorta.
I get. Eugene. I'm here with Ryan Lampers, and we are at the Train to Hunt event here in Oregon that Jesse Wise was the director on, coordinator.
Yep, director.
And I wanted to get Ryan on the podcast. Some of you saw the video of Ryan that I put out on the Train to Hunt event in Enumclaw. And I think that event was pretty fun. I got to follow you and Corey Miller around and film you. For those that watch the video, we call Lampers Donnie Vincent, Lampers for short, and Donnie Vincent. No, you look a lot like him. It's kind of funny. The first time I saw you, I was like, Donnie's here. The Kuyu kind of helped set that off a little bit, all that.
Sure.
But I want to get you on the podcast. I've gotten to know you a little bit as we've come to these events, and I think that it's you're a cool dude, and I wanted more people to get to know you and meet you. I've been stalking you on your Instagram and your social media and stuff like that, and so I kind of wanted to pick your brain because there's a lot of big deer, big elk on your page here and experiences that you've had. And so before I get into that a little bit, why don't you just tell people a little bit, like your name, a little bit about your background, your age, how long you've been hunting. Give people a little pedigree here.
Sure.
or background.
Okay. Well, my name is Ryan Lampers. Donnie Vincent Lampers, I guess. 42 years old. So live in Washington State, small town of Granite Falls. Just kind of a blue-collar guy.
Have you always lived there?
Business. Me and my wife have had a house there for almost 20 years. Grew up in a small town just south of Addison, Homish, Washington.
So you got married like 20 years ago.
20 years ago. It's been a while. Yeah. 19 years ago.
You're like a kid, man, when you got married.
Yeah, I was. We were young. I met my wife in Alaska at a fishing lodge, actually. We were working up there. I got super lucky. Met a gal from Montana in Alaska. So, I couldn't believe it. Wasn't expecting to find somebody like that up there for sure. But
that's cool.
I did. So, like I say, I run my own business. Family business took over that, and it's kind of kept us there in Granite Falls, and we kind of like it there. Obviously, we've been there a while. Got 2 daughters, 15-month-old daughter and a 7-year-old daughter. Got started hunting a long time ago with my dad. Grew up bird hunting mostly. Kind of was a late bloomer to big game. My dad wasn't super into big game early. A lot of time spent chasing chukar in the hills and eastern Washington and pheasant hunting, quail hunting, stuff like that. So,
So when did the archery bug come along? Did the big game thing happen first? Rifle, or was it archery right off the bat, or what was it for you?
It started off rifle, a little bit of muzzleloader. I used to shoot a lot of archery with my dad.
Really?
Recurve.
But you didn't hunt?
Didn't really hunt it. No, we just shoot targets out in the driveway, that type thing. And but my dad was a rifle hunter. Not super into big game though. Like I say, when I was young, it was more of a bird thing, a little bit of blacktail here and there. And but as I got older, it kind of sucked me in. The big game it lured me away from the bird hunting and.
I think Cameron Haynes or a few other people have said this, when it comes down to hunting, it's like, if you go turkey hunting, at the end of the day, you've only got a turkey.
You've only got a turkey. That's right.
And it's like duck hunting. Guys are like, you want to go duck hunting? And I'm like, yeah, but it's blacktail season. Or whatever,
doesn't
right?
quite fill the freezer.
Yeah, the big game thing just sucks me right in. And I get the other stuff. I think it's a blast. But my heart and soul is like in the big game.
Yeah, I love chukar hunting just because the challenge of it.
Just because it's a lot of work.
They pull you to the top of the hill. You get up there, they fly to the bottom.
Nobody likes chukar hunting, dude.
There. I did when I was younger. I've smartened up a little bit. But yeah.
No, it's a lot of fitness. Speaking of that, so I'm going to derail you a little bit. We are here at the Train to Hunt event here, and you're in the elite of the elite. You're right at the top at all these events. You're coming in either first or right at second, and on any given Sunday.
Hoping to, but when Scott Carr shows up, I mean, who's going to beat Scott Carr, really?
Scott's an animal. You were right on his tail, though, dude. He looked like he was in some pain.
I tried catching that guy. He's just like impossible. He's got another gear. So.
He's a shooter too. I wonder, how did you shoot? Do you think
I feel like I shot pretty good.
Did you?
All the shots felt good. I think. I mean, definitely no, ones or five. Nothing outside.
And so for people who don't know about Train to Hunt, it starts out with a 3D course. You just do a standard 3D course. You're guessing yardage. You're shooting 20 targets.
Tough course too out here. Yeah. This Jesse Wise runs a mean course. He sets it up tough.
It was some of those downhill, uphill, that bear hanging from the tree.
Yeah, who takes that shot? I mean, who's practiced that shot?
Yeah, seriously,
really?
It threw off. There's some serious angles and distances. So it was a tough course, and then there's that, and then on the same day there's that meat pack event,
the dreaded meat pack at the end of the day. Yeah,
and this was probably one of the longest races put together because Jesse likes to make it hard.
He wanted people to suffer in this one.
So 80 pound, 100 pound, depending on your divisions, a little less for women.
Yeah. I think, how it goes is in the open, the men's open. So, anything under 40, you're running 100 pounds. Men's masters, that's
40 and up.
40-plus guys, we're running 80 pounds. And then the super masters is, I believe, 60 pounds. So, that's how it goes.
And then you run like a mile and a half basically up and down some hills. You don't have to run, and that's a misconception a little bit. Like people are like, you shouldn't run with that much. It's bad for your knees and your back. And
it's
the reality
not supposed
is,
to be a run, but it turns into a run.
Right, exactly. The idea was to move, 100 pounds, mile and a half,
right,
as quick as you can to show,
The problem is, there's always good hills. Typically, there's good hills, but when there's a flat, with these monsters that have been training for this, they end up running. So you gotta try to keep up.
With these guys that have the fitness to do this, running, that's not a terribly I'm a big proponent of heavy loads and moving heavy loads, but with good mechanics and good health, you don't just do it overnight. You
don't just show up and try running with 100 pounds if you haven't trained for it or done a lot of uphill climbs and heavy loads. You're going to hurt yourself, for sure.
But you just came on the scene, boom, flash, out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, you kind of threw me into the scene. Actually, I won a free entry from you guys, and it kind of called me out.
Yeah, Jesse Wise, we went up on, did a little podcast with, I think, him and his wife, and about the show, about the Train to Hunt, and did another one with his family, but somewhere in there, we gave a free entry to the
Scrolling through my Instagram
Nevada
feed, and I saw my name thrown in there, and it said free entry. So I figured, well, I guess I've been wanting to do it for a while. I just never really got it going. But had a week to get ready for it. Drove down to Nevada and gave it my best. I'm so glad I did. It was, it's hard to explain, but you just meet some of the best folks, in the business, best-hearted people you could ever meet in this event. I don't know how Kenton draws these people in, but it definitely gets the good.
There's something about shared suffering, I think, that is it draws people together, and it takes a certain type of person that's willing to try this and do it.
Yeah,
and that heart, just.
One thing I noticed right out of the gates, I figured there'd be some, big egos, guys that, they want that top spot, this and that, but it's definitely not that. You don't get the big egos in this, for sure. So, good people, and, it's obviously it's made for training.
Yeah.
To get ready for the season, so it's like perfect time,
right.
Summer.
That's the thing, too, is knowing that there's this event absolutely motivates me to work a little harder than I would normally in the off-season, off-time.
Absolutely.
And, it's just it also – one thing I'm probably guilty of is just not shooting under stress much, right? Shooting every day, just boom at the target and then going about my stuff is not the same thing as these steep downhill, uphill, walking a 3D course kind of stuff, and then doing it under load with the backpack on and running.
Right.
All that stuff adds a whole element, which is actually more realistic to the actual hunt, and yet I don't really practice shooting that way till this.
It's forced me to practice a little bit differently. Elevated heart rate shooting. That's something I never worked on. I'm never doing 20 burpees and then shooting and trying to. But, this forces you to do that, and I think it's a good thing. I could see the.
You could get real sloppy and get some real bad habits, too.
Yeah.
Again, it's like anytime you're pushing your body to some limits or your abilities to some limits, I think you're always going to run into it can go one of two ways. You could hurt yourself or cause some destructive habits or whatever, or you could improve and become better. Sure. It's all about not having that ego, I think, and slowly growing yourself from one level to the next.
One thing, I've always tried to, I love hunting, so I try to keep myself in the best shape for fall. But this has kind of extended it and just advanced my level of, I think, a little bit. I train harder. I train with heavier loads. I'm doing a lot more hills preseason. I'm not running. To train for this, I'm doing more like just throwing 60 pounds in the pack and making sure I get 3-4 miles in, a few times a week. And
that to me really is you don't need to run to train for this.
No,
in fact, you really just need to put that load on and hike hills.
Yep, definitely helps. Yep.
And then when the running comes, there's not a lot of it because frankly, there's a lot of hills,
There's some hills, yeah. You end up walking, speed walking, as fast as you can. The downhill is a little brutal. Yeah. That's what gets me.
Yeah. You came to the Nevada one and you did well. What place did you get there?
I got a bronze in that one. I got third. Yeah.
And then you did Enumclaw and you got...
Me and Corey went up there and got a silver on that one. So.
And then today, we still don't know the results.
We don't know the results. It's a tight race.
It is a tight race.
I know Russ Meyer, he's a monster.
He's just a monster, man. Russ is killing it. Scott Carr and you. It's just like...
Yeah,
you guys are animals, man.
I feel pretty good to just try to keep up with those two, and so I feel good about myself on this one.
Yeah. So it's interesting because Russ is a killer. Mm-hmm. Scott's a killer. You're a killer.
Tough guys.
You guys get it done in the mountains and do that all the time. And my question for you is. Those guys are killers. They get it done in the mountains.
Yeah.
You get it done. So do you think this actually these guys are fit without trying to hunt, and they get it done. Yeah. So they can come down here and compete at any time they want because they're kind of living a life where that is just part of life.
Right.
This probably just helps you a little bit more.
I think so. Yeah. I've definitely noticed. I'm going to be going into the season a lot more fit.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think I'm in pretty good shape usually. Yeah. But getting sucked into this train to hunt, this is the challenge. This is what I look forward to now. I want to hit them every weekend and just keep on it. But this will be my third one this season.
So I watched you shoot with Corey, and then I walked the course with you yesterday, and we were in the same group, the same heat, and we shot. Well, you're a good shooter, man. You're a good shot, and you're also, one thing I noticed right off the bat is a lot of guys draw, and they settle and they take their time and they shoot. Mm-hmm. You're one of the guys that just sort of draws, boom, shoots. You don't take a lot of time. In fact, when the shot's on the line, I would just kind of think, let's make sure this is a 3D course. You're just like, boom. Next target. It's like, whoa, you rushed that, didn't you? And yet you're accurate. So how did you develop that?
Well.
Or is that something you've always done, or is that something you practice?
It's something I practice. Definitely got to focus towards getting my pin settled. I think it's hunting the brush country that I hunt. Hunting Western Washington, Roosevelt's, thick Rockies. We hunt between North Idaho, brush country.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have a lot of time. Seconds, if that. Sometimes you got some close shots, but sometimes you get small windows. And if you don't get that pin set quick, your opportunity goes away. So,
I can think of...
Everybody's got that story.
I have so many animals that that's a weakness of mine. And that's why I'm like, I really tuned into it and noticed it, because I take a while to acquire that target and shoot.
Right.
And I see a lot of guys that are just so much faster.
I think Washington, you've hunted Oregon. I hunt Washington. Opportunities come few and far between.
Yep.
Especially on an animal, a good animal that you really want. So I don't want to miss any opportunities. So if I can get that shot off quick, because in the early years I had some opportunities slip away, or I was just too slow. I just held a little bit too long, and they got just in front of the tree, and I just couldn't get that shot off. So I've definitely worked on that, and I think it's only helped me. It hasn't hurt me.
I was going to say, can you think of like certain animals that you've taken, because you have a bunch of really beautiful bucks and some elk. How much of that is due to the fact that you could shoot quickly?
I can't really pinpoint one or the other. I just know that if I get a little window and it's a short time. Sometimes, you can't get that animal to stop.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
Yeah.
Now I've had experiences where, you stop that animal and they stop perfect, and then you got that 30, 40 yard shot. But I've also had times where, you try to stop them and they don't stop. And so, I'm not opposed to taking a moving shot on an elk if I'm real confident, just because I've had so many experiences where it's hard to get them to stop.
Right.
So, I don't know.
These are things you practice.
This is something I practice. So,
what do you think is the most, as you're practicing these shots? I mean, how did you get better at shooting quickly?
Well, my wife stands there with a little timer. And honestly, it's actually gotten more so with this train to hunt, because there's a couple of shots here where you've got 5 seconds, the 5-second shot.
Yeah.
That's one of the dreaded shots. You've got 5 seconds, which sounds like a long time.
I know.
But when you got to pull back, the timer stops right when you start to draw and get that pin settled. That's tough. You're usually taking it right down to that last second.
Tight. It's tight.
Yeah. So I practiced that, and I think that's kind of sped things up for me, being able to just get that pin right on it. And then the 10-second shot.
Yeah, 2 shots in 10 seconds.
2 shots in 10 seconds. And I actually, the first time down in Nevada, I had that was the one that worried me, so I practiced it and practiced it, and I got it, and I was pretty happy with that. So I don't know. It's definitely I've upped it as far as trying to shoot quicker. Definitely with this train to hunt for sure.
So on let's go back to some of your experience. You just so people know, you've been hunting mule deer a while, and you've got some beautiful mule deer and some big bulls. Your Instagram, can you open that for me? Yeah. On your Instagram page, which is basically it's Stealthy Hunter, but it's spelled ST Healthy Hunter. Mm-hmm. So creative,
isn't it?
So you got Stealthy Hunter.
My wife is the creative.
Yeah, it's cool, man. And you got Ryan Lampers. It says hunt, harvest, health. Mm-hmm. Husband, father, gardener, fisherman, bow hunter. Always DIY. Always public land.
Right.
So, so you've got quite a few animals, and often when I see stuff like that, I often think, how many private hunts has this guy been on?
I never have. Never been on a private land, or
so
I don't have the thousands of dollars to spend on private hunts. So just got to do it on public land.
So how do you do it, dude? How do you get out there and on public land and get animals of the caliber you're getting?
Honestly, I think, a lot of these, I've been blessed to, I get some time off in the fall.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys, I do get some cameras out when I can. Not always, but in certain places. And I spend as much time as possible scouting, big believer in scouting, learning it, in August, preseason. And, with the business I'm in and the folks I got around me, I'm blessed with a great family. So I've got people that kind of support what I do. They allow me to get that time off, and time is key. I mean, let's face it. If you're out there on weekends and weekends only, I don't care how good you are, you're not going to get it done.
Well, I've noticed there is a correlation between a guy who can spend 5 days and a guy who can spend 15 days to success. I mean, there's
absolutely.
Just a much higher degree of success when you just got more time.
I attribute, like I say, time. Time's one thing. I try to get to know the country as best I can, and spend as much time up there as I can. But and just being in the best possible shape you can be.
So let's say you find a big mule deer, and that's the one do you kind of have one in mind, before the season starts? Generally,
typically I have a few picked out, and that's obviously they never really pans out perfectly. I mean, last year it did. I had seen some really good bucks, and there was kind of a basin that I had found in Washington that held a half a dozen decent bucks, and so it just worked out that I got in there, and the best of the bucks gave me the opportunity to get in there and put a nice stock on him, and I got him. So, yeah.
So, what do you think, guys? So you got the scouting thing and time; those are huge. You're saying those are really important.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys though that know where deer are and have the time, but can't close the deal.
Sure.
So what's the difference there? What do you think?
I think if I have an advantage at all, patience. Honestly, it's one of those things. Again, hunting Washington, opportunities come few and far between. So if you do find, a buck, a quality buck that you really want, you do not want to blow that one opportunity you have. So, there'll be days where you're looking at this buck, he just never gives you a shot. And I think not going in there, messing it up, that's key, because there may not be another opportunity. It's not Colorado. We don't have a lot of bucks to go after. We can't just dump over.
Not in this caliber. Not what I'm seeing here on these pages.
Well, yeah, we got some decent stuff in Washington. One thing, I don't know what it is about Washington, but I don't see a whole lot of backcountry guys, to be honest.
Well, that was my next question. It's like what you're talking about is kind of a luxury in some places where it's like, I sit on him for a few days. He never gave me that shot. You can't afford to do that in some areas where there's 15 hunters who might have spotted him too. Sure. It's kind of like if you don't make the play, someone else does before you do.
And that's something, over the years, there's places I can pretty much count on not seeing anybody back there. And I don't know why that is. I think maybe rifle guys get in there a little bit more, some horse guys, but I rarely see a footprint.
Dude, now there's going to be a million people out there.
Sure. We got some backcountry in Washington that just doesn't get looked at. And, I think just a handful of us backcountry solo guys that get out there and do it, we're blessed with areas that they don't get looked at.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, it really reminds me of me hunting blacktails on my own acreage. I'm like, I know no one else is back there blowing the deer out.
Right.
So I treat that property completely different than I do some public
don't rush
land
in.
places.
You let it happen.
And I'll do scent things. I'll manage the space, and because I know that if I don't screw it up, no one else is.
Right.
So that big buck I'm after, that I'm targeting, that I've been following for 3 years, I know that no one else is going to blow him out. And as long as I play my cards right, he's not going to bounce out of there. And once he bounces out, he's gone. He's not coming back that season. I've got 2 weeks maybe in November, and he's cruising for does, and he's pit stopping in my area. And once that's gone, he's gone.
Right.
So it's like I get the whole play it, but you kind of have to have it to yourself a little bit.
You do. It makes a world of difference. I mean, I've hunted in places, out of state especially, where there's going to be some folks. And I definitely notice in myself that I treat it a little bit different. I'll tend to push things.
Yeah.
Go in, even though things aren't perfect. Whereas Washington, that's the last thing I'm thinking about. I just know there's not going to be anybody there. So
yeah,
that's one thing that's not going to mess me up back there is other people.
That's
it's going to be all on me. So
I see guys. The next, like we're talking Russ Meyer.
Yeah.
Scott. We talk about like Aaron Snyder. All the guys I know that get it done shoot exceptionally well.
Right.
I think. What do you think about that? Because, so I mean, we're kind of getting up to the part where you actually stalk the animal, and shoot it, right?
Well,
because right now we've tiptoed around it. It's like I get it to myself. I'm patient and all that, but there's only so many people that actually complete the stalk and make the shot.
I'm pretty cautious, so I definitely when
So you're not super aggressive.
I'm not real aggressive
because there's a lot of guys who are the opposite. They're super
elk's
aggressive.
Different, but muleys in the high country is just elk. You can call and move on to a different basin and play it that way. But as far as deer go, if they don't know I'm there, I'm gonna make sure he's in a spot where I know I can get up on him, get above him, and get that shot, keep the wind right and all that. You know, all the things that are important. Try to get as close as I can. I don't tend to take a lot of animals that anything beyond 40. It's just kind of how it's panned out. I think I've only taken one deer in my life with a bow that was 60. And it's just that perfect opportunity where that buck was standing there looking over a ridge, didn't even know I was there. It wasn't even an animal I was going after. And he just stood there long enough. And when I first saw him, you know, it was one of those things where, geez, 60 yards.
Right.
I'm just not comfortable with that shot. You know, comfortable on the range is different. But he stood there like a statue, and he just gave me opportunity. So I ended up taking him, and fortunate enough to get him. But typically, you know, try to get in as tight as I can, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just super cautious. Back out if the wind switches. And, you know, a lot of times up in those upper basins in Washington, you're looking at, you know, 7,500, 8,000 feet. And the wind can get a little swirly up there.
Yeah.
So that's, in my mind, that's one of the top things is making sure you got the time to back out. Back out if you can.
You sound a lot like, you know, kind of talking much like Robbie Denning. And he was on an earlier podcast for you mule deer junkies. You got to check that out. He talks about, similarly to you, that, you know, he'll find a buck. He knows what he wants. You know, he's getting in there. He's spending time scouting. He's finding it. He's in an area. He's trying to get in an area where, you know, he can take his time.
Right.
And he's like, and South Cox has told me the same thing. They act completely different once they know you're in the basin than they do when they think nobody's there.
Right.
Like their cautiousness is just not there.
Yeah.
And they're so much more huntable. And as soon as there's that first blowout, it's on now.
They'll start using different beds, and everything changes.
Everything changes. And so it's like, a lot of times Robbie's like, with those really big bucks that have been around a really long time, it's like you blew it. It's over for the season.
Yeah.
It's a lot like blacktail.
And even with your scouting, you know, as important as that is, it's August. I mean, being super cautious, staying way back, you know, with a spotter and finding those bucks, and don't just go traipsing around your area, you know, in August and blow those animals out, because they got other options. So they'll move out. But
yeah, I was admiring your family here. Your daughter is dressed up like it's hilarious. Merida. She's got that bow drawn back, man. She looks serious business.
Oh, yeah, the Brave phenomenon. When she watched that movie, I mean, she was so into Merida for a while. But you can see how she's dressed exactly like her. She'd pull the bow back exactly like her. It was great.
I heard a few people. I heard her talk about how she beat Gritty Bowmen too.
Yes, she did. She's pretty happy
meat pack
that.
race.
Mr. Gritty still talks about that.
She whooped me.
Yeah. Actually, it's Mr. Gritty Pants is what she calls it now.
That's awesome. No, you got a great family. I love that.
Yeah. Yep.
I was reading through some of your Instagram posts. You were talking about an old regress buck that you'd watched for a while, and several younger stud bucks with larger racks showed up, but would immediately get a thrashing from his huge-bodied old timer. Yeah. His downfall was a bouldered knife ridge.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Oh, that was an interesting hunt. High country hunt during the rut. It's kind of a late season hunt. Had some decent weather. The weather was horrible. I mean, it was fog would roll in, fog would roll out. So you got there again. You had to have that time, because you'd just be. The fog comes in, it could be there for hours.
Yeah.
So you got to buckle down and just wait it out. And you get these little opportunities, little windows where it rolls out, glass everything, and then it might roll back in. Well, this was a hunt where fog rolled out, and watched. Geez, I knew where this buck was. I'd seen him, a couple days prior, and he kind of owned that area. And I got to watch several other bucks come in. Some with some pretty decent racks on him that come in, but he had a huge body on him, and he just literally just pushed him down the mountain. And so I got to watch that. Didn't have the biggest rack, but he was an all regress, and he definitely had the body to whip these young timers.
He looks like a big buck.
Yeah, and he ended up. I think he fought like 3 different bucks in this one little ridge, and ended up coming up, and he was tired whooping all them bucks. He bedded below boulders so I could get around and got up and shoot. It was a nice close shot.
Yeah.
So it worked out. But
do you always hunt from above them?
Try to. Yeah, definitely. Yep. It always seems to work out.
To be
midday.
The approach of choice. Mm-hmm. From most mule deer killers that I know.
Yeah.
And what about...
if you get those thermals coming up midday, that always seems to make it right.
So what do you think about the public land thing?
In
terms of
hunting public land?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's... like I say, I don't have a lot of money, so it's just forced me to do that. I know there's a lot of opportunity. I did a shoot last year in Montana, and I drew a pretty good elk tag over in the breaks, and it was frustrating at times. A lot of the guys that were over there, there was planes flying around looking for bulls and stuff like that, and these guys were spending pretty big bucks to go out and find their bull, and it's just not really our style. And they'd pay. A lot of the bulls would end up on private land, so guys are putting it out there that a couple thousand here, come on out, or 500 for the day type stuff, and just never really been a big fan of that. So obviously we had to work a little harder, and but in the end, we were over there for 10 days and found a pretty good bull, and got this bull on the public side, and it just worked out. But it's a lot more work getting them on public land versus, could have went the easier route, but I would have felt pretty bad about dropping $1,000 on private lands.
I was going to say, I think it's pretty remarkable that we have these public lands.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's sort of, I try not to get discouraged sometimes when I hear, especially I see some of the posts on social media about getting, putting the control of
back to the
state, and I'm
Correct.
like, it just there's no track record there.
And I think education is the biggest part. I think a lot of people, I tend to lean on one side of the political aisle. So, unfortunately, I think that side, as much as we don't like government control on everything,
Completely.
This is one of those issues where you kind of have to step back and look at the reality of it. Look at the examples that the states, look at what they've done with it when the federal government has given the state land,
It's pretty sad.
Rights. It is. It's a horrible track record. And anybody that, all of us hunters, I don't know any hunters that shouldn't buy into trying to keep these lands public. I mean, it's all we got, really.
Well, the thing
it's going to be hard, thinking about everything goes pay to play. I mean, think about that.
Exactly. That's what I'm
right
like.
there.
You're like New Zealand and, or South Africa, and it just, Europe, it changes the whole.
It does.
The whole model of conservation and wildlife. And sadly, I just don't think there's a lot of people who, people think they care about wildlife until you tell them, here, I need your money.
Right.
And then it's all of a sudden it's like, but wildlife doesn't need my money. It can just survive. But it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. No.
And so I get a little discouraged because I feel like the guys on my team just don't know all the facts. And so
I've had some back and forth with guys, and all we can kind of do is try to educate and say, hey, look at the examples. Let's look at what's happened in these other states, Utah, and what's going on, and those lands just aren't available to us anymore. So, and it could happen like that.
My thing is it's the idea like there's a quick fix, and in America it seems like we kind of like those. They sound good, but they're not. And you get into some of the stuff where you're dealing with just state is another form of government, and so government is government in a lot of ways, and so it's not an improvement. It's just a switch.
Right. It's a switch, and I mean, I know the state that I live in. I know we're always running a deficit.
Yep.
And it's pretty scary to think that at any point they could sell those lands off, which I tend to think they would.
Oregon is selling stuff left and right.
Yeah.
They can't get it logged, and half of it's already owned by private timber companies.
Sure.
And it's if we don't keep it there, all of it will be owned by private timber companies.
And look at what's going on with the gates. I mean, you know, these fees have gotten...
It's pay to play now.
It is pay to play, and the key fees are getting more and more expensive. And it's sad to think that that's where we're headed.
The end of the world, but I'll tell you what, there are a lot of people who, once they lose that hunting access, then they stop hunting.
Sure.
And when they stop hunting, they stop being concerned about wildlife.
Right.
They stop putting money into wildlife, and then the wildlife suffers. And it's sort of like you see this in Africa with the lions, right? People pay big money to go on a lion, and they're worth something, and they don't want those lions to disappear. They represent millions of dollars in income because they're a valuable species, valuable animal in the landscape.
Right.
Unfortunately, the same is true here. As soon as you devalue the animal, you know, as soon as hunting becomes just very, 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 if there's no dollars driving the conservation of it, then why would any state or any organization, any company, place with control, why would they choose wildlife over a new mining operation or
something
housing,
bring in some cash,
or using the land for something, logging it, whatever. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's tough.
It's scary. It really is. I mean, we've hit this in kind of this crunch time here where it's getting talked about a lot, and it seems to be gaining some traction, unfortunately. And it's all we can do as like sportsmen and anybody that likes to fish or spend time in the backcountry or has kids that takes them camping on public lands. Geez, I mean, we're at that crunch time where we got to do something. Got to keep it, keep educating because it's pretty important.
I think it's really important too that these that we get the kids out and that they're actually hunting and shooting bows and doing that stuff. So it's cool to see you with your family.
I want to be able to take my daughter out hunting. She talks about it. She's 7 now, and so we got a few years, but she really wants to get out there and get that first bear under her belt. And I don't want to be paying to get in there to take my daughter hunting. So.
That's right. You got another post in here that you put in the other day that I found that I liked, and you said, why I train to hunt. For me, success usually doesn't happen early. It tends to happen after many days or weeks into a backcountry hunt. It's at that point when it's all on me to get that animal out of the mountains. Having a plan and being in the absolute best shape possible, both mentally and physically, is a must. Digging deep and grinding out that last and most important part of a hunt comes easier, I believe, from all the off-season prep. This is why I train for all parts of a hunt: shooting, weight training, and backpacking with heavy loads, competing in the Train to Hunt challenges, and testing where I'm at is no doubt going to help me this fall. Can't wait for September.
Right.
I think that kind of sums up this weekend. And for me, I love coming out here and competing with all these cool people.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
And camaraderie and the brotherhood that's fostered from it. It's just neat. And I hope the Train to Hunt keeps growing because I think it's got a great.
Like I said before, I mean, the people here are just amazing. We sat around the campfire last night listening to stories. There were some military guys here telling stories, and it was just great to sit back and listen. These guys, good people, truly good people. And I've met some folks. Russ Meyer. I mean, geez, I've followed that guy forever, and I met him this weekend, and just like I thought he would be. He's a great guy. And that guy's got
you two
more
are like
knowledge.
You two are like the quiet assassins. Yeah. It's cool to see you guys venturing out onto social media. Russ in the last year, hadn't done a lot of that until recently. Yeah. And you guys have a lot of knowledge. You're a little on that introverted side, so you don't stick yourselves out there or talk much.
And I think we both have wives that kind of push us into it a little bit.
You do.
I remember that podcast with Russ Meyer, and my wife actually listened to that.
Did she?
And she was like, man, listen to that. These hunters are actually pretty cool. I kind of like this Gritty guy.
I really liked meeting his family, and I think it's interesting to talk to you guys. Aaron Snyder wasn't. I mean, he's a smartass on the microphone when it's just a few guys, or when it's. But in a bigger, he's not putting himself out there as much. He does great on social media, but I find you guys interesting, because you're not out there bragging or talking a lot, but you have a lot of knowledge, and it's kind of interesting to get your take on it. So I hope you keep doing it.
Yeah, I think I will. I mean, this train to hunt thing, it's definitely gonna grow. I'm gonna do my part to get as many people as I can, because it's only gonna, like I say, it's only gonna help guys.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of kids that work for us, and I'd love to see them start doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's competition, which can't hurt, it's basically
it's
about
physically
fitness.
demanding. I think it intimidates a lot of people.
It does,
but
it does.
The reality is, it's just
everybody hears about the meat pack, and they
like,
whoa, I don't know if I could do that, but you can.
It's funny. You try it at home, and see how you do. It's like
a lot of these guys, they come here and they just want to finish it, just get it done.
Yeah.
It's not about coming in the top 3. It's just you came out, you did it.
The other thing
wind,
too
rain,
is
all kinds of weather.
It's fun to come and just watch.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did in Enumclaw.
Yeah.
I got suckered into running afterward, but I didn't compete. And I think all that stuff is just it's just a cool. You can come and just watch and see it. But I'm excited to see where it goes. But I think you're training before season and meeting new people, and there's a lot of guys that are going to be hunting together now with new friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great networking place. It's a great place to.
It's funny. Like I met Kenton actually. It's been maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
I met him in the backcountry of Idaho. Him and his buddy, my buddy Dan Staten, and we met in the backcountry. And I just kind of kept up with him, here and there. And right away I knew that guy was just solid. One of the nicest guys on the planet. So when I got kind of pushed, by you guys to get into this, when I met Kenton again, I ran into him down in Nevada. He's just a cool cat. Yeah. I mean, he's motivating. He's set this up so perfectly. I think, it's not crazy hard. It's something that everybody can do. The teams, they come out, they kind of split up the weights and this and that.
The co-ed stuff. I see so many women involved in it.
And my wife, she's not a hunter.
Yeah.
But this excites her.
Right.
She's got that kind of like Amanda.
Same with my wife too.
With Jesse White, Jesse White and Amanda, competitive. I think a lot of women are competitive, and they see this, and they may not ever go out and take an animal, but the competitiveness, they see us kind of in our element, loving what we do, and like seeing us, with these guys. And
I think
she wants to get into shooting now. She wants me to get her a bow. So she's
nice.
She's definitely into it.
I think what happens too is they're a little intimidated by this whole idea of going out and hunting, right? Like never done it, and haven't really been out. If you can do this, right? If you can compete and finish in these events, which they're not they're all doable,
right?
By the average person. But just having done it sort of, I think, confidence-wise, gives you that extra boost where you're like, you know what, I could hunt.
Absolutely.
I could, I did the hardest stuff. Mm-hmm. I can do this now.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of people here, you come and you do it at your own level. Challenge yourself. Don't just come out to try to beat other guys. And you find that you tend to do better than you think. I know that happened with me. I didn't think I was going to do well at all. And shooting under pressure, it scares the crud out of me. But out here, you're kind of forced to.
Dude, I'm shoving a camera in your face.
Camera in my ear. And that scared me to death. And I think I lost a couple points on that. But I think it was good in a way.
I'm no mercy,
pressure.
dude. I'm no mercy. If we're walking a course and I got a camera, and I also like to... I like to put people under pressure, man. If they're going to shoot and you're going to go on a course, it's okay to I think I remember telling Corey was like, yeah, I did this mistake and set it up. I'm like, even if you made that mistake, that shot was horrible.
I think I remember that.
And so, but I like to take my own medicine too.
Yeah.
I think,
but I saw a pretty good bobble on your part today, just practice shots. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting used to this whole thing myself, and but definitely it shows you where your weaknesses are.
Definitely, yeah. I've got a couple things that I've learned from this, and one of them is obviously the elevated heart rate thing. Shooting when you're just sky high.
Yep.
I mean, your heart is beating out of your chest.
Scott's incredible.
He is.
I mean,
I don't know how he does it.
He's breathing so hard, and
he can toe the line and take that shot.
Heart shot.
Yep, heart shot. And the other thing is downhill. Coming downhill, that's my weakness. I look at a guy like Scott. He's got giant quads. He's just a monster. I don't have giant quads. I got skinny little quads. So coming down hills with 80 pounds on my back is pretty tough on me. But I'm working on that. So it's just like packing an animal out of the hills. Coming down is usually pretty hard.
Yeah,
it's hard on me. It always has been. I can do it, but I feel it. Uphill is a lot easier for me, whereas down is tough. So I've looked into exercises that have kind of helped.
Yeah.
Strengthen those muscles, so coming down isn't so tough for me. But that's only going to help me on the pack out this fall. So,
yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how stressful it is on the body going downhill with a heavy load.
Yeah.
And until they practice it or work at it.
So why not practice it before season comes? Because it's usually at that point you don't want to be tightening up and
Yeah, no, downhill's my specialty. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Uphill,
so giant
I'm
quads.
slowing down. It is. I mean, really, there is he's squatting 400 pounds, and so I got good mobility, good strength. Coming downhill is not a heart rate thing. Mm-hmm. It's a muscle thing.
It is, yep.
And so that's fine. And then whenever I got to get my heart rate up, I'm like, I'm just, at each station, those stations are good. I'm good on those. I can fly through most of those stations, no problem. It's the sprint
then
between
you got to start
stations.
sprinting. Yeah.
That's where I get killed.
Yeah.
So it comes from a background of never running at all costs.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not a runner. I never have been a great runner. I do it, but I don't do long distance type stuff as much. I do it just to a point where I think it's helped my cardio. But I like hiking with weight.
Yeah,
I think that helps
too.
me more than just straight running on a road. So I think as far as heading into the backcountry and definitely coming out with weight.
You're at 42. You're a fit dude. You look around, and I don't know about you, but a lot of my 42-year-old buddies that I went to high school with, that I grew up with, are they're done. They're done. They're more couch and beer.
So my wife will never let that happen. Well, my wife's a naturopathic physician.
Oh, really?
So she kind of like in my bio there, is gardener, hunt, harvest, health. We've really gotten into the health aspect of the food we eat. I'm a huge gardener, which takes away a little bit from my scouting, but I love all them garden vegetables. I do a lot of canning.
Nice.
My wife was kind of pushed us into that.
They're canners.
Yeah, we're canners. We can everything.
Yeah.
But, I enjoy it. I think it just kind of adds to the harvest season, the hunting season. Got to have veggies with that steak. So, like I say, my wife's always been, she's kind of pushed me more into the health aspect of everything.
McDonald's just not on the menu.
It's never on the menu. Yeah. I think my daughter's had it once. Some fries, maybe.
So I told my wife, I'd rather just go hungry.
Yeah.
I'd rather just wait till tomorrow. Yep. I'll just not eat.
Fast food is not on our menu. But I'm blessed to be around people like my wife they push me to be better health-wise.
Yeah, because there's not that many people that are really that, that are at our age that are fit, that are ready to do this kind of stuff, especially just to go do it.
Right.
And so on the side, they got to spend some time getting ramped up and getting they're getting their body back.
And it's always hard to get it back. So definitely.
I would say one of the things that I'm a big believer in is strength training, because everybody at any level, I think one of the things that people lose right off the bat is muscle.
Right.
They lose muscle, they lose bone density, their connective tissue is weak.
Yeah.
And putting some weights on your back and doing squats and doing some deadlifts, doing some presses, all of that just slowly builds that muscle back, that bone density, the connective tissue start to get stronger. And I think a lot of times what I've noticed is there's people want to jump right into running, and they want to jump right into hiking with their backpack with heavy loads, and they want to jump right. And I'm a big proponent of starting at the base, and that's with strength.
Right.
You build that strength up, and then on that you do your running, you do your hiking, you do your climbing, you do all that kind of stuff. Of course, I think body weight stuff. It's always good to hike or walk or jog but still, those connective tissues and those bones and that the muscle system is not dialed in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think connective tissue is one of those things. I mean, that's always on my mind for sure.
Yeah.
I do not want to have issues with that. And so, yeah, like you say, keeping that, really strong, that's what's going to keep you out of the mountains if you don't have that, a tweak or a tear or something like that.
At your age, what are the things that you think give you the best health? What are you doing that's keeping your health tight?
I just think maintaining,
Is it diet? Is it sleep? Is it exercise?
Sleep is probably my Achilles heel, I guess. It's something that with my business I have a hard time, consistent sleep. But I think diet is huge. We're really into the food
all
stuff.
All organic and vegetables.
All organic
and
stuff out of the garden. Yep.
Your own meat and just natural diet.
Freezer's full. We fish a lot too, so we get a lot of salmon and
omega-3s.
Mix it up. Yep. But then again, just maintaining some type of a program. You don't have to go all out, but I think just staying fit, whether it just be half hour a day, whatever. I've got lucky enough to have a little gym in my shop, so we get to work out in there quite a bit. But with the train to hunt thing, I've kind of amped it up a bit. Got the tire pull out in the driveway. Got that going on. A few more kettlebells added to the mix, and then the sandbag over the shoulder. Stuff like that. So all things that I didn't have before, but seeing what it does with these guys and watching what Scott Carr does on his Instagram and Facebook.
You're like, it's Russell Meyer doing his mountain workouts, with just a backpack and wood rounds and And I don't know what kind of a workout routine Russ has, but that guy's just strong. I mean, I think he is.
I think he's done it for so long.
46 or 7, I think.
47.
47.
Yeah, just so many years in the mountains of backpacking consistently, never letting yourself go.
He kicked my butt.
Yeah.
He killed me.
I mean, he's a beast for sure.
Yeah. He's a beast. He did great. I mean, just an animal. I'm impressed, I'm impressed by all the people here. And but I do think, diet and it's interesting. You're like, I eat well and I do a little bit of exercise. Would you say you do a lot of exercise?
Yeah, I do.
Hour a day or 20 minutes a day?
Yeah, about an hour. Probably an hour a day.
And you've been doing that how long?
Maybe a couple days out of the week where I just can't get it in. But, as long as I can remember, trying to maintain it. Like we were talking, connective tissue scares me. I don't want that knee injury that's going to set me back. Been blessed with good ankles. Never had that. Never had a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that comes from just not overdoing it. I think there's something to be said about that too. I see some guys. Cam. He can go and go and go and go and go and run 100 miles. And I don't think that's just my body type. I don't think I could do that. But just whether it's 20 minutes, hour a day, maintaining that over the years. I think, we're in our 40s and we don't look too horrible.
We're doing all right. We're getting it done.
Our weight's okay. And, connective tissue's strong. So
yep.
That's number one.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and hanging out. I just really wanted to get to know you, and I wanted other people to meet you too. So it's a chance for people to get to know another hunter and follow Ryan on Stealthy Hunter, ST Healthy Hunter on Instagram.
Yeah.
And anywhere else they can follow your stuff.
That's about it. I'm not really
not a Facebook.
I do
a little bit.
Yeah.
They can find you,
Just
Ryan
my name.
Lampers.
Yep.
Lampers.
That's it.
So, and hopefully we see you more. I'm anxious. Good luck this season.
Well, I'm anxious to see what happens in this race. Let's see where we're at.
Get some results here soon. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk with you.
Thanks, dude. Stay gritty.
Stay gritty.
Okay, gritty friends, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. If you're a hardcore elk hunter, or you want to be, go to the Elk 101 website online and check them out. Our friend Corey Jacobson is killing it with some of the best elk hunting information and entertainment on the web. If you haven't heard, we're doing a huge gear giveaway to try and grow and expand the gritty community on Facebook and Instagram. I asked a bunch of friends to pitch in on this gear giveaway, and they all came through with some awesome stuff. Our friends at Kafaru, Rockslide, First Light, Phelps Game Calls, One Shot Gear, Mountain Ops, XXX Archery, Blacktail Outdoors, and Is It September Yet are pitching in some sweet gear for the giveaway. We'll announce all the details in the next few weeks. All you have to do to be entered to win is like our Gritty Bowmen Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.